When it comes to 2018 in the year of gaming, I think Sony probably had the strongest year out of all of the companies. Looking at their AAA first-party releases, you of course had God of War, which was an absolutely fantastic experience. Everyone seemed to love the game. It was definitely different than previous entries of the series, but people quickly grew to warm up to this game and absolutely loved the storytelling and of course the over-the-top combat. You then had Spider-Man, which really reinvented how superhero games are looked at. It was definitely more of a widespread appeal game than just a traditional superhero game, and it just did a fantastic job once again in the world of storytelling and of course beautiful visuals. You also had excellent AAA third-party releases, as Sony always seems to get the cream of the crop. Games like Red Dead Redemption 2, which everyone is probably still playing and exploring the world of the Wild West. Well, Sony's middle to the end of the year was kind of interesting in my opinion. Their E3 presentation for the past year wasn't the strongest. You got some gameplay of things like The Last of Us 2, which looked admittedly awesome. You got some more information on Death Stranding, which nobody really still understands, but there wasn't that much in the world of surprises. Well, then later on in the year, Sony actually canceled their event PSX 2018, which is where they like to showcase different PlayStation stuff. And a lot of people were like, that's kind of weird. You know, maybe they could have shown some smaller projects they're working on, but obviously with the next generation looming on the horizon, maybe there just wasn't that much stuff to showcase. But today's announcement definitely has me scratching my beard because I'm very, very confused by this decision by Sony. Because Sony has just announced that they will not be doing a presentation at E3 2019. No presentation at all from Sony. So what is going on with Sony? Why did they decide to do this? And what does this say about E3 2019 and pretty much 2019 as a whole for Sony? Sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about how Sony isn't going to be at E3 2019.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So for the first time in 24 years, Sony has decided that the PlayStation and PlayStation brand will not do an event and will not appear at E3 2019, which is admittedly blowing my mind right now. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this decision. But in a press release given to Game Informer, they spoke about why they're not going to be at the event. As the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. As a result, we have decided not to participate in E3 2019. We are exploring new and familiar ways to engage our community in 2019, and we can't wait to share plans with you. Then PlayStation Senior Vice President of Communications Jennifer Clark said that we will not activate or hold a press conference around E3. So not only are they not doing a press conference at E3, they're not going to be at E3 at all. And that's really I don't understand that, because when you look at 2019 for Sony, it's not like there's not games coming out for the PlayStation 4 that people will want information on. Of course, The Last of Us 2. That is going to be a monumental game for the PS4. It looked great when it was showcased at E3 2018, but of course they only showed, a small segment of the game. And I think a lot of people want to know more about things like the online multiplayer aspect of the game, how other characters are going to be used in the game, if there will be other characters used in the game. Another game that is really out there is of course Death Stranding. Nobody knows really anything about Death Stranding. I've watched like hypothesis videos, people trying to figure out what the story is behind this game, and honestly it's still just confusing the hell out of me. There's babies and weird creatures that pop up out of nowhere. What's the combat like in this game? Is there combat in this game? And that's a big game for the PlayStation brand that a lot of people are assuming that it will come in 2019 to the PS4. Are there new projects being worked on for the PS4? Obviously, we are entering sort of the tail end of the life cycle of the PS4 and the Xbox One, but still, you have to imagine that there's new games coming out that we don't know about that will be announced for the PlayStation 4 in 2019, and that's a great place to do it. All of the world of gaming watches E3. Whether you're a Nintendo owner, a Microsoft owner, a PlayStation owner, a PC gamer, it doesn't matter. Everyone watches E3 because they want to see what their companies are doing as far as systems they own, and they want to see why they should buy other companies' systems. months. So to completely skip out on E3 2019 just seems really weird. Obviously, the PlayStation 4 has sold exponentially well. The system is clearly on top in this generation, but still, you want to give those consumers a reason to tune into E3 to showcase what you plan on doing. But I think this says bigger things about Sony in general in 2019, because by not being at E3 2019 at the event or having a presentation, that clearly shows to me that the PS5 is not coming in 2019. And it's pretty clear why. Even if Sony wanted to unveil it at E3 2019, you know, this would have been the perfect place to do it. If it was a holiday 2019 release or a spring 2020 release, you would probably showcase the system off at E3. And you might be saying to yourself, well, maybe they didn't want to showcase the system off at E3 2019. They would announce it at their own terms in their own time, and that's fine. But if that was the case, they would be at E3 2019, because obviously a system is only a system. You have to have games for that system. You have to have a reason for people to want to go out and buy that system. So to completely skip out on the press conference aspect of things, to completely skip out on the event of things, just shows that the system is not ready. I never thought that the PS5 would come out in 2019, honestly. I definitely thought it would be a 2020 release or beyond, because I feel like Sony still has some life left in the PS4. But to not be at the event, it just pretty much shows me that maybe we're not going to get that much information on games. Yes, they could do something like PSX again, of course, in 2019, but I just don't understand the reasoning to completely skip out on E3, especially when it's obviously the biggest event in gaming as far as press is concerned, as far as press releases are concerned. Everyone always has their eyes glued to E3 2019 E3 events in general. So by Sony not being there, it's just going to be a sort of field day for Microsoft. And I guess maybe I can understand why Sony wouldn't want to be at that event, because they might lose the event, but still, nobody cares about winners and losers and things like that. They just want to see games and things like that. A lot of people are expecting Microsoft to talk about next generation hardware. I myself feel like they will talk about next generation hardware. Obviously, they're not doing much with the Xbox One right now. They're definitely winding that system down. Some mistakes were made with that system, and they probably will talk about their next console at E3 2019. And it could be potentially released by holiday 2019, but I'm not really holding my breath on that either. But maybe Sony felt, well, you know, Microsoft is going to talk about next-gen hardware. Our next-gen hardware isn't quite ready yet, so maybe we don't want to go up against something like that. And then, of course, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have Nintendo, which is going to be in a groove when it comes to software releases on the Nintendo Switch. People are expecting to see Bayonetta. People are expecting to see Animal Crossing. People are, of course, expecting to see Metroid Prime 4. I really feel like you're going to see a very Metroid Prime-centric E3 from Nintendo in 2019. So maybe Sony looked at that and said, well, you know, they're doing a lot of software with the Nintendo Switch in 2019. Our software, people pretty much know about it. Maybe there's some smaller projects in the works. We don't really need to do a stage presentation or show up to the event. But I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to throw things out there as to sort of the reasoning behind this, as to why Sony wouldn't want to be at this event, because honestly, none of it makes sense to me. You would want to be at E3 2019 if you are a video game company. Everyone goes to E3 2019. All the big press people are there. Everyone has their eyes glued to E3 2019. It's one of the few times when mainstream media will cover video games in a positive light, because things are announced, things are unveiled, new games are revealed, and things like that. So you got people like the USA Today, Wall Street Journal, all these different websites, all these big places talking about video games in a positive manner. And just to completely skip it, I don't get it. I don't get it. They could have done a pre-recorded presentation like Nintendo did. And to go from this big, robust presentation that they've done in the past few years to nothing at all, and don't get me wrong or anything like that. I'm not saying Sony's in trouble or anything, or, you know, the company's in peril or anything. I'm just trying to throw out ideas there as to why Sony would want to skip to E3 2019, because it really just boggles my mind. They've done huge presentations in the past few years, and to completely not show up at this event and just have nothing to do with it is just really strange to me. So let me know in the comments section down below why you feel like Sony is skipping E3 2019. And what about PlayStation VR? You could have done a full-on PlayStation VR presentation at E3 2019 and maybe convince me to buy one of those things, because I still don't have one and I still really don't want one. But yeah, seriously, let me know in the comments section down below why PlayStation is skipping E3 2019, why you feel that is, and do you think it's sort of a sign of how they're going to treat 2019? Are they going to sort of have a Nintendo-like year with the Nintendo Switch in 2018, where there's not really many of that huge AAA titles, just smaller stuff, supplemental stuff to please PS4 owners. And as always, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.
RGT 85. RGT 85. RGT 85.